Greetings, pen pals. I have another pen from PenBBS today. This is the PenBBS 348. This is a sort of experimental test edition. As a matter of fact, it clearly is labeled test edition on the pen. It has a very conventional style, but a fairly different filling mechanism, different filling mechanism yet again from PenBBS, although it's not a filling mechanism we haven't seen in other pens from other manufacturers before. So we'll get into that in a minute. So let's just talk about the general overview of the pen for a second. It's as you can see, it's a fairly conventional, although somewhat beefy in terms of circumference design, tapered cigar-shaped pen. It's only available in this clear demonstrator version, at least in this limited test edition. Size-wise, pretty conventional in terms of length. Here it is sized up with a Lamy Safari and a Pilot Metropolitan. As you can see, it's pretty much right in line with these guys. Pretty average size for a pen this size, weighs in at 22 grams, and it's a normal conventional twist to open cap. Takes 2 full turns to open. And in terms of posting, again, it's okay in terms of length unposted. I'm a big fan of posting. However, this guy really doesn't post. I mean, you can kind of put the end on, but it doesn't really stay very well, and it's like it doesn't really go in, and it's just crazy long and off kilter posted. So it's really not a postable pen for the most part. The cap itself is sort of milled out on the inside to make a nice little ledge to match up against the section, so that is pretty nice. So you have sort of this frosted piece here, this clear piece here, etc. In terms of the cap band, it says PenBBS and 348 test edition clearly labeled on the cap band. The clip is a sort of normal run-of-the-mill PenBBS clip that we see in other PenBBS pens. So there's nothing special going on there. Nothing particularly special about the nib either. It's a standard PenBBS fine number 6 size nib. It says PenBBS since 2005, has a whole bunch of skullwork, has an F for fine, and says China. And again, a normal run-of-the-mill unimpressive plastic feed. Okay, can we compare it to some other PenBBS pens? We certainly can. So here it is compared to a 309, which is the pen it's most similar to stylistically. Here it is compared to a 456, a 355, and a 487. So you can see it's not completely out of line size-wise, although I think it is one of the more girthy PenBBS pens. Sort of the chunkiest, one of the chunkier PenBBS pens, and one of the few that I have that doesn't post, which is again an issue for me because I'm a big fan of posting, but may or may not be for you. Now, let's talk about the filling mechanism, because that's really where this gets interesting. So what this is a pump filling mechanism with a breather tube inside. So there's a breather tube inside the pen. Let's see if you can see that. So you should be able to see the breather tube inside and a pump. They very clearly state, don't be disappointed when you have to pump this a bunch of times to fill it. So they're already telling you have to pump this a bunch of times. What will happen is a few drops of ink will come through each time, and eventually the barrel will fill up to the level of the breather tube. You unscrew this cap at the end to seal off the button there. Now, this might look familiar, and it is. So it's pretty much what the Wing Sung 601, 601A pens have. So this is a Wing Sung 601A, and as you can see, pretty much the same thing. This one uses a diaphragm instead of a piston. They actually make 2 different versions of this. They make one with a diaphragm and one with a piston, but they basically work pretty much the same way. Again, breather tube, pump up the ink, etc. So this is not a unique filling mechanism to PenBBS by any means. In terms of components and disassembly, this pen pretty much comes completely apart. So let's actually do that this go around. So we can unscrew the section here. There's an O-ring here at the base of the section. The nib unit unscrews. It is not a standard PenBBS nib holder because you do have this breather tube that has to go in here. So this is a different type of nib holder. It does have a O-ring here and here. And again, there's an O-ring at the base of the section. In terms of the filling mechanism, the cap comes off. and then you can unscrew the filling mechanism. If you get a good grip on it, do not be tempted to use a tool of any kind to unscrew this. It will unscrew by hand, or maybe with like a little rubber gripper if you need be. But please don't put any sort of a tool on this, because this is delicate, soft metal, soft plastic, etc. So this part comes out. You now pretty much just have an open barrel here. Got a couple of O-rings there. Now this metal cap will also unscrew, and then you can get the rest of the filling mechanism out of the pen. So there we go. This cap comes off, and then you have the little spring and the pump as well. So there's our spring, and there is the pump, and that's pretty much all you would need to take this apart. So we can put it together again, and we'll be lubricating this with a little bit of silicone grease on the appropriate places. Again, just small amounts here, but we're going to put some on this piston here before we put that back into this part of the mechanism. We're going to then put this cap back on at the end there. We'll put a little bit of silicone grease on these threads there, and then that will go back into the end of the barrel, just like that. Screw that all the way down. So that's all the way in. Put that cap back on now. We then want to put a little bit of silicone grease on the base of this nib holder, but just on the base of the nib holder. Again, you don't want to get silicone grease anywhere near your nib and your feed. As I said before, silicone grease and nibs and feeds do not go well together. And then you're going to screw that together. And just make sure our nib is straight. And then we're going to put a little bit on the base of the section here where that O-ring is. And then that will pretty much be a reassembly of the pen. And there we go. Now, we want to see probably how this filling mechanism works. So let's check that out right now. We'll do a dry run with just some colored water here. And then before we fill it with actual ink. So again, we're going to remove the cap here. We're going to immerse our nib and section and feed in, and we're going to start pumping. And as you can see, as we start to pump, each pump, a few drops of ink are coming up the breather tube into the barrel. So it's going to require a few dozen pumps, but it's actually making some decent progress as it goes in, and this is going to hold a pretty goodly amount of ink as it gets to the top of the breather tube. So this isn't really an egregiously laborious process here, but it's just, you know, a little bit longer than, say, using a piston filler or a vac filler, etc. Once you get all the way to the top, where we pretty much are, we'll give it 1 or 2 more pumps, but we pretty much gotten to the top, and we pretty much got a nice full fill there. So that was actually pretty straightforward to fill that, if I do say so myself. I'm going to now try it with some ink, and then I can show you how this pen writes, because that's what you're going to want to see, and I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, what we're writing with here is a PenBBS model 348, and this is a test edition. And this has a number 6 steel nib in fine. And again, from a writing perspective, this is I have many pens with this exact same nib in it, and they all write really, really well. So this is, as usual, it is smooth, it flows well, etc., etc. So no complaints there. It's about average to slightly above average wetness. No problem with wetness flow, etc. So again, cool pen, cool filling system. They call this an experimental test edition. I think they thought that people were going to be disappointed with the number of pumps that this took. But it took me maybe less than a minute worth of pumping to get this full. So I don't really think it's that big a deal. I think they just think people's expectations might be that it'll just fill instantly, like most other pens do. But not a problem. It's sort of like what you expect with these sort of breather tube pump type filling mechanisms. So hopefully we'll see this filling system in some other pens with different designs, or maybe just this pen go into regular old production, which I would be fine with as well. But it's a pretty nice pen, and I like it. I think if it posted, it would really be perfect. Speaking of perfect, one thing that would be really perfect is if you folks could please like, comment, share, and subscribe. That would just be wonderful. Another thing that would be wonderful is I'm doing a collaboration video with Doug Rathbun, where he's going to review this pen on his channel, obviously. I'm reviewing it here on my channel, and then we're going to do a collaboration video like we've done before with a few other pens, where we're going to discuss our thoughts on this pen. So please check the links out in both Doug's channel and my channel for both Doug's review of this exact same pen and our collaborative video where we discuss this pen together. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. So that's about it for this pen. Let's talk about this ink now for a minute, shall we? All right, folks, what we're writing with here today is a really nice ink from Colorverse. This is Colorverse Pillars of Creation. And like many inks from Colorverse, this comes in a set, a big bottle and a small bottle. So the big bottle has this Pillars of Creation. The small bottle has a totally different color called Mystic Mountain, which is a glistening ink, they call it. So which has, as you can see, has sparkles in it, which we'll get to on another episode. It's never clear to me how they decide which ink goes in the big bottle and which ink goes in the small bottle in these sets, but be that as it may, that's how they sell these inks. And this is a pretty nice ink. Let's take a look at the color card here. What we're basically dealing with here is a dark eggplant type color ink with some greenish gold sheen to it. That's small amount of sheen, but it does exist. So this is not like a true purple. It's more of an eggplant. So this is like Diamond Purple Rain. So that's like a real purple. That's what that looks like. But this is more of an eggplant type of color. So it's more like here just compared to like a Mont Blanc Lavender Purple. It's more in that family. Or PenBBS Mulberry is a little bit like that. Or J. Herbon, even Alarms de Cassis. It's sort of like halfway between that and like a true purple, but it's sort of a very dark, very saturated eggplant with a greenish gold a sheen to it under certain angles and circumstances and papers, etc. But it's a pretty nice one. Colorverse Pillars of Creation, nice ink, and I like it quite a bit. That's what it looks like on this Rhodia paper. Let's take a quick look at what this ink looks like on Tomoe River paper now, shall we? So as we said, what we're writing with here is Colorverse Pillars of Creation. And again, nice ink. You definitely get a little bit of color variation. You get a little bit of sheen. It lays down good. Very saturated ink. And like I said, the sheen does present itself a little more on this Tomoe River paper than it does on the Rhodia paper. I think that'll just about do it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed watching it, because I certainly enjoyed making it. And as always, until we see each other again, have a great day. Bye-bye.